Well, hello to the First Baptist Tulsa family and to the friends of First Baptist Tulsa. This is our midweek update for June 5th, 2024. Hope you're having a great beginning of the month of June. So here's the three things I want you to know. 2 chapters in the Bible to read, 1 way to pray, also known as our 3-2-1. So here's the three things. First of all, this last Sunday, we did the first tours of our new Caring Center on our main campus in our north building. This coming Sunday, June 9th, we're going to do 2 more tours, one after each of our morning worship gatherings. So about 9:30, about 12 o'clock after both of our worship gatherings, meet our leadership by the coffee machines and the cafe, and you'll get a tour and see what we're doing in the Caring Center. And if you've been interested in volunteering before, this is a great opportunity just to look behind the scenes, see what we do, and see if this would be a great fit for you in serving in ministry. So that's coming up this Sunday after both of our worship gatherings. Then the next week, here's item number 2 and 3 I want you to be aware of. Our senior adult lunch, our once a month senior adult lunch, is going to be June 12th. We're going to have special guest Peggy Helmrich, and if you remember from the silver screen, Peggy Dow. Peggy has been connected with our church for years and thought it would be wonderful to interview her about faith and about film. And so that'll be the subject of our senior adult lunch. Sign up online so we make sure to have plenty of food on that day. But that will be Wednesday, June 12th. And then June 13th is our Memory Cafe. And this is an ongoing ministry of our church. If you or someone you love is dealing with memory issues, Alzheimer's, dementia, this is a safe place to have a community event where everyone will take great care of you. So please be aware of these 2 opportunities on the 12th and the 13th, Senior Adult Lunch and Memory Cafe. All right, so now we're continuing to walk through the book of Acts. The 2 chapters I would invite you to read this next week are Acts chapter 17 and Acts chapter 18. And as I go through these chapters, as I've read through them several times this week, I realize we will go to many of these sites if you're a part of our Footsteps of Paul tour this fall. Now, if you're interested, the final deadline is coming up. Pretty soon we're going to pay all the final deposits and the trip will be closed. But if you're interested, let me know. But we're going to visit a lot of these sites on our Footsteps of Paul tour coming up this fall. So this is Paul's second missionary journey, the second mission trip that he goes on. He hits several cities, and I'm not going to give an exhaustive list, but in 17 and 18, he hits Thessalonica, Berea, Athens, Corinth, Ephesus, Caesarea, Jerusalem. And what's interesting, as you go through these travels and kind of read the travel log, each place he encounters something different. In Thessalonica, he's met with hostility. In Berea, he's met with eagerness. In Athens, he's met with indifference. In Corinth and Ephesus, again, it kind of goes back to hostility. Wherever he goes, people react differently, sometimes well, more often than not negatively to the gospel. But through it all, no matter what the response was to the gospel, Paul was continuing to go forward, saying this is the right thing to do, and this is God's message for all of humanity, the hope of the gospel that is in Jesus Christ. And God gives Paul some reassurance along the way. Listen, just because you follow God doesn't mean that life is going to be easy. In fact, in many ways, life gets more challenging. But it's right, and it's good, and we live with and for and in God. And those words of assurance that I would have you pay attention to in chapter 18, starting in verse 9. Do not be afraid. Keep on speaking. Do not be silent, for I am with you. And I think these words apply to anyone who lives faithfully in the presence of God. No matter how people respond or react to what we're doing, we're not afraid. We keep on going. We are not silent. We realize that God is with us. So read through 17 and 18. You see all these different reactions and responses to the gospel, but you see the consistency of Paul's character as he lives in obedience. So this brings me to the one way I would invite you to pray this next week. In our teaching series called The Essentials, that's our summer teaching series, we're taking an important and essential passage of the Scripture. This coming Sunday, we're going to be looking at the Sermon on the Mount, and I know we just did a huge, long teaching on the Sermon on the Mount, but particularly we're going to zero in on the Lord's Prayer. So this is Matthew 6, 9 through 15. Probably if anyone has any part of the Bible memorized, it's probably this. We've heard the Lord's Prayer so often. We're going to take a closer look at this prayer. What I would encourage you to do between now and Sunday, if you haven't memorized it, memorize it. And then I want to ask you to look for that one line as you read through. It's about 100 words in the Greek, about the same in English. But as you read through, what's the one line, what's the one word that you need to pay attention to? And then come ready. Say, this has resonated with me for a reason. Pray through the Lord's Prayer that's in the Sermon on the Mount. And then come ready to anticipate being taught something maybe you didn't see before, and having a greater insight into prayer and a greater intimacy with the Lord. So that's Matthew 6, verses 9 through 15. And I would ask you to pray through the Lord's Prayer as we prepare to worship together on Sunday. Love you, love serving as your pastor. Please know that I'm here to serve or pray in any way I can. The Lord bless you. Bye-bye.